Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah, so thanks for meeting with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, so where do you want to get started? Do you want to just explain what you do, or do you have questions for me?
Yeah, obviously I've studied the product and everything. Have you guys started with anything in relation to cold outbound, or are you just trying to, get a feel for, a lot of people that I'll meet with, they've tried it and not had a lot of success or, not tried it at all. So just kind of get a lay of the land for you, Mike, and what you guys have done.
Yeah, so we've done some cold email marketing over the past, I'd say, year or so. We've hired a few outsiders to do it, didn't have much success. We did it internally. I thought we did, fairly well. The person I had doing it kind of was wearing a lot of hats, so they sort of picked up tools and I think did a decent job, but we just weren't getting the ROI from it,
Yeah.
and our resource just couldn't really afford any more time, like the time that it would take to do this right, to really hone the copywriting and all that sort of thing. So at the time, we had to abandon it. So yeah, we're trying to find the right person for it, really.
Okay, makes sense. Did you guys use a particular software like Instantly or Smart Lead or
Yeah, we used Instantly on a number of occasions, on through all of it, with the providers and everything. So we're fairly familiar with that. For lists, we used Built With, I think, to get lists, and D7 Lead Finder. Those are the two main ones. A lot of people told us about Apollo. I don't think we ended up using that. We just kind of that was the point at which we abandoned it. Uh, yeah, and then we had one of our service providers also got lists somewhere. I don't know where, but his list was terrible. He got us 10,000 contacts, and 3,000. We discovered that 3,000 of them were duplicates. So that was
wow.
the end of that engagement.
Yeah, it's even all over the board. No, and I get it. It's hard. Let me ask you, I was studying the website and everything. What's the average long-term value of a customer? If I sign up for one of the plans, how long do people actually stay? Do they stay where you can, they stay for a while and they're on for a year? Because it's it looks like it's anywhere between 30 and $70 type ticket per month, right? So that's what it's always a balancing act with cold email because it's not cheap to do it right. So that's why I ask.
Yeah. So our average, I think, is just under $2,000, but that's average across the board, and that's many different verticals. So we really want to target at this point barbers, tattoo artists, and massage therapists, because those are our highest lifetime value customers. So uh, massage therapists are somewhere in the $10,000, around $10,000 lifetime value. They're quite low churn. Barbers and tattoo, sorry, are around $3,000, $4,000 lifetime value.
Okay.
So
And are they getting other products besides just the scheduling? Because I just looked at the pricing page, right? So are they are they signing up for bigger plans, or is there add-on products that they're taking in besides the just the core scheduling application?
not at this time. We do have, yeah, the three tiers of products, but they vary by the number of calendars, so the size of your team.
Okay.
So yeah, we are actually in the process of changing our pricing over to be more value-based pricing. Um, but that'll take probably till the end of the year at least to finish. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I did a little research. Are you looking to target, a particular country or, Canada specifically, US, anywhere outside?
Yeah, so the majority of our customers now are in US. So I would say US number one. Canada is our second biggest, but we are also available in UK, Australia and New Zealand and I think Ireland as well. So
Okay.
the UK and Australia are actually kind of untapped for us. We don't have nearly the amount of customers there that we should, at least sort of just percentage wise. We've never targeted that. But yeah, the main one is US and main one is US really.
Okay. So I did a little research, at least in the US, it looks like there's about 110,000 barber shops, tattoo shops, and licensed massage therapists. So that's a pretty good base to work from. I mean, obviously, that's not counting Canada, it's not counting UK, Australia. You know, I run for some of my businesses as well, Outreach, UK, and Australia. I think they're really good markets. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of US companies, I guess, you know, that do cold outreach don't necessarily tap into those. So I've had a pretty good success with those. I mean, you do have to manage the aspect within cold email that you lose a lot of your replies if you don't reply quickly, right? So that's one thing you kind of have to address, either the timing of your campaigns where like AU is, you know, well, yeah, let's see, I'm in Pacific time zone. What time zone are you in? More
Central.
central? Yeah,
Hmm.
central. So, you know, like for you, you know, for you guys, like a lot of their replies would come like at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Uh, well, for our time, it would be 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Their time, 7 or 8 in the morning. So
Hmm.
UK is a little easier because it's kind of the opposite. Like, you know, they're ending their day when we're starting our day. So they fit within the US calendar. They're just kind of opposite, right? So those are things you kind of
Yeah.
pay attention to,
Yeah.
but they're good markets. They really are. And I've enjoyed. I think I've probably added more customers for my core business in the UK in the last year than even in the US, just because
Oh, okay. Well,
they're not as
that's
saturated. You know.
that's what I was thinking is, I've talked to my team about this, about expanding, focusing more on those markets, just because my thought is exactly that. There's just less competition, I would think. I haven't done the research, but I would suspect there's less competition in those markets for the same types of products.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they definitely have their own businesses. I kind of look at it as what I call like who are my Google business profile type customers, especially for like your market. Whereas those are the type of businesses that, you know, they all have Google business profiles. They live and die by their Google rating, right? And that's how people find them. I mean, a lot of people don't realize from the search perspective. I mean, if you're looking for a tattoo artist, most people are just going to go to their phone and Google, type in tattoo artist near me, right? And that's how they're going to find, and that's coming from that Google business profile. So there's a lot of that in the U.S., obviously in Canada, but you know, a big market in the U.K. Yeah, so I kind of show you just how we go through things. I mean, we're definitely not conventional as far as how we approach cold email. I mean, my background is I spent about 17 years working for a Fortune 500 insurance company, running tech, automation, data science. I've only actually been into the cold email market now for a little over a year. So in the realm of marketing, I am not, you know, it sounds sounds interesting to say, but like I'm not a huge my background's not marketing, it's tech and AI. Cold email became pretty successful just for our businesses because I understand deliverability probably better than most in the world, right? Just because I understand how models work and predictive models work. And Google and Microsoft, where we send most of the emails from, are also the people that we send our emails to, right? And so Microsoft has 10 billion. Mike invested in OpenAI. You know, Google is building their own models, so they're very deliberate in how they approach, you know, cold email and what they allow and what they don't allow. And if you understand that, and if you create your copy in a way that resonates well, then you hit people's inboxes. And we take somewhat of a very professional approach, a very soft approach. We don't try to sell much via cold email. We feel like cold email is more of the avenue to make an introduction and gauge interest. And then we let our clients do the selling, you know, on the calls, right? Or through their assets, right? Through their website, et cetera. So I'll kind of walk you through some of what we do. But I did do a little, just kind of I pulled some data in for you guys just to, so you can kind of see how we build our tables here. Let me know if you see that okay. It should say
Yep.
demo
Yep.
clicked in. Okay. Are you familiar with Clay at all, by the way, Mike?
Familiar in the sense that I know about it. I've never used it
Okay.
myself.
So Clay is one of those tools that I would tell you probably the largest lead gen agencies in the world are using. Really because it just gives you so many different capabilities to connect the data and data sources. I mean, think of it like a very glorified spreadsheet in the cloud,
Hmm.
except it has connected enrichments to all kinds of different tools. And you'll kind of see this in this demo, just to kind of give you an example. But it's really for, I very much believe in the process of, hyper personalization with our leads, getting relevant information in front of them, and then making sure that we're identifying the right leads, right? Because I can send, in your team's previous experience working with Instantly or other tools, I mean, you can find and write good copy, but if you get it to the wrong leads, then you're not going to get any replies, right? If
Right.
you don't understand deliverability, you're not managing your campaigns correctly. Again, you can have great copy, but your emails hitting spam. More and more people are today. So Clay kind of gives you the ability, at least from a lead gen perspective, to build out leads that meet your ICP, create copy that's relevant to your ICP, and then we pipe all this in directly into Instantly. So I'm one of four in the world right now, I think, that is both a certified Clay expert and partner as well as Instantly. And so gives me the ability to kind of understand both tools. I also manage, smart lead clients as well, but Instantly is kind of where I've spent all my time. I think we're, between clients and stuff, well over 1 million emails in the last year and Instantly. So have a lot of, just experience in the tool. But last 4 or 5 months, we've been using Clay with every campaign just because it gives us the ability to just get better leads, get better personalization. So I'll kind of show you what we built. I built real quickly for you guys. So um, what we do with Clay is we import Google businesses directly from their Google business profile. So I can come in here and I look at a location. In this case, I chose New York City. I choose the number of results and the search term. So I chose tattoo artists. And very much like a Google search, you can,
Hmm.
expand in and out with the map, etc. But I just pulled down a few samples for you of, here's some tattoo shops in New York City, their address. Most of them had a phone number listed, reviews, ratings. And then we pull down their website and we do a little cleaning of their website just to make sure that we've got a good URL. And then this is some AI work that we do where we find the owner, because when you pull Google business profiles, you don't have an owner listed on a Google business profile, right? So you talked about that struggle that a lot of lead gen agencies run into, or people trying to do cold email is, where do I get my data, right? So we can obviously get data from Instantly has their own lead source, Apollo, as you mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Zoom info, LinkedIn. But one of the reasons why we use Clay is because we can pull that in. Whatever lead source we choose, we can pull that all in directly into Clay. So I want to connect to Apollo. I just pull data from Apollo directly into Clay. If I want to connect, in this case, from Google Business Profiles, I like to, whenever possible, use LinkedIn and Google Business Profiles, mainly because I can do that at scale. I can pull up to 50,000 at a time here in Clay and then enhance them from there at a relatively low cost compared to trying to go out to Apollo and buy 50,000 leads.
Right. So let me ask you a question. So I've been told that Clay is not a lead like a lead sourcing tool. It's an enrichment tool only. But the way you describe it, it sounds like you do source leads in Clay.
Oh yeah, all day long. I mean, I'll get out of this table for a second. This is just yours, but I have one client here where I'm running 10 different recruiting agencies. And so this is full of nothing but tables full of leads that we're pulling directly into Clay. So in this one, we're pulling particular jobs.
But you say
Yeah.
into Clay, but where are they coming from?
This one's coming from LinkedIn. So these are all LinkedIn jobs. So we're pulling them and we're enriching them directly from. So
And when
like
you
Clay is not the originator, I guess if that's your question, Mike.
right,
Like Clay
yeah.
is Clay is
I'm a
not some
tech
big
guy. I'm a
data.
tech guy as well, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
always sometimes I get into these conversations where it's more for curiosity than the purpose of is
yeah, no, so think of Clay, it's not the original source for anything. That's the best way to think about it, right? So this is an example of where we're pulling in data from LinkedIn. So within Clay, it kind of all starts here. You can pull in businesses from Google Maps, store leads, HubSpot data, Google search data, Salesforce data, and this is just some of it. Appify, which is
and
where
this
we
is
can get
like
a whole.
they have this is all part of Clay. Like you just kind of
It
click
is.
on where you want to get it and Clay just pulls it from there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some filtering, and that's weird. There you go. Yeah, there's definitely some filtering and stuff you need to do, but there's if I'll come in here and kind of give you a quick example. If I add these enrichments here, there's all kinds of different data sources. So integrations is a good tab. These are all the different integrations that are
Wow.
built
Okay.
in.
So if you're gonna pull from, let's say, Apollo,
Mhm.
how does and it's kind of getting venturing into curiosity for me. Do you also need to have an Apollo license yourself that you somehow connect to Clay?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Okay,
you would
right.
either have your own Apollo account, or you would either have you'd have to have an Apollo account, but you could do it two ways. Clay is a credit based system. So you can pay Clay per credit. So for every run example, in some cases that actually makes sense because it's a little bit cheaper. The vast majority of time, what you would do is you would connect through Apollo here and just use your own API key. And that way you're paying a lot better
Okay,
price.
got it. Okay. And you have so when you work with clients, do you have all these already paid
Oh yeah,
licenses, or do you
I
pass that
do.
cost through?
No, it's and I'll show you. I'll kind of walk through what we charge, but we build all this into our pricing model. So we
Okay.
do ask the client to go out and acquire the Clay account, and which doesn't cost them anything. We just pay the bill. That way, if they decide to move on from us, they own their account. Does that makes sense? Like they don't have, they can take it with them. Same thing with instantly, but yeah, we don't pass that cost is built in, and if it costs us more, then we absorb that cost. Right? It's all about the lead gen, and as we talk through this, for me, it's like
So we
I'm showing
so we
showing
would
you
have to
example.
create our own Clay account and then
Yeah,
just sort of give you access to it. But in terms of the paying for the credits or whatever, that you
that's
do that.
us.
That's part of your
Uh-huh.
built-in fee. Okay, got it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we have all that priced out, so we know
Okay.
what it's going to cost to find the leads and everything too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like eventually we'll get to the pricing. I just getting ahead of
Yeah.
myself. Just wondering if it's your pricing plus all the license fees or if that includes it. So yeah.
No, and that's part of it too, because sometimes, at the end of the day, I know how many leads I need to get you. I know how many, emails we need to send. I know what the cost is to get those leads, but it does get more expensive sometimes, right? You say, okay, I have a
Yeah.
client that, I have one client who does, and this is different than the recruiting ones that I showed you. All she does is recruiting for fintech companies that have received Series A through Series D funding in the US. And that data is extremely expensive and very, very hard to find, right? But I don't charge her more because it costs me more to get the data, right?
Okay.
And that's just, part of what we do. So,
And how does what provider do you like in terms of the Google business listings? Like you're able to bring in Google business listings. What like through what provider gives you that?
this is coming directly from Google's API.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. So a lot of these calls are directly to the APIs themselves, and
Okay.
that's what keeps the cost down. I mean, you'll see that as we kind of go through here. This is just an example of, and I use this one for you guys because it has a lot of different steps in it to get to an end result, but you can kind of get an
Mhm.
idea of how it works, right? So
Yeah.
um, there's some cleaning in Clay. We clean the URL. This is a prompt, so I'll kind of give you an idea of how this works. We come in and we do a query directly to a model called Cohere, which is a large language model that's used by a lot of enterprises because it doesn't hallucinate like OpenAI and some of the other models.
Right.
And what we're doing, as I mentioned, is you don't get an owner when you pull a Google Business Profile. So we're going
Mhm.
out and finding that owner through an API call to a large language model, and that gives us back that owner. And it's scraping their website. It's looking at their Google Business Profile, looking for references to the owner of the business. So that's how we get it. But then we double verify it through pulling validated emails, right? So this whole process from here to here is getting from a business that meets your ICP down to a validated email. So think of that. That's your Apollo. That's your
Yeah.
instantly.
Yeah.
We've just rebuilt it through other sources to get validated emails.
Yeah.
Um, and then from there, we do some research on the business. So again, using Cohere, we go in and we pull detailed information about the business. And I'll just kind of give you an example of what this looks like. So this is highly relevant and detailed information, all coming from their website, all created with large language models. So if you're familiar with, like, if you go into OpenAI today, ChatGPT, you're going to get some information like this because they now include web searching, but it's always a cutoff date, right? It's always, as of October 2023 or whenever they last updated the model. This is going in through Cohere and looking at their large language model and going in and doing in-depth scraping of their website,
Right.
all through Cohere, all through Clay.
Okay.
We do that, and you can see it's dynamic, right? It changes for every single business. But the reason why we do that is because it's what helps us create the custom personalization that we use in the email approach. So that's why we
Okay.
take the time to do it.
Could
Surprisingly, this
you?
looks expensive, but it's really not. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Uh, just curious, could you, using Clay and all the enrichment capabilities, could you figure out which, for example, tattoo shops are currently already using a competing scheduling product and which ones don't appear to be?
If they had some reference of that on their website, sure. Yeah,
Really? Okay. That's
yeah.
huge because I've asked that question too. I'm interviewing about 6 different providers for this, and I've asked that question to others, and I just got a flat out no, there's no way to do that. So
No, and that's because
because
they don't.
because
Yeah,
to
they don't
me,
use.
right, they don't go to or even if they use Clay, probably not to the level that you do.
Yeah,
Uh, Yeah, because and the reason I asked that is because the pitch is very different, right? If they're already using a competing product, then you're going to be pitching book our product quite differently because now you have to explain why, because it's a pain to switch, right? Like, why would I go through the pain of switching to your product? Versus them not using anything at all, in which case you're just selling the basic benefits of online scheduling to them, right? Um, so, and yeah, if you're selling, if you're just, if you're not doing that filtering, then, either you do some kind of a hybrid pitch where, hey, if you're not using an online scheduling tool right now, you should because blah, blah, blah. But, or if you're using something else, then we're better because of this, right? Like it's nowhere near as targeted.
yeah. No,
So,
that makes sense. Yeah, it's a totally different approach. So this is not answering your question, but just showing you how we would do it. So if you kind of look at this prompt, we're looking at a LinkedIn company page. We're going to specific sections here to identify key personnel, and then we're tying that back to a company profile, a person profile, and a job profile. So this is just a logic we would use where we would say, go to these specific pages, look for this specific thing. And there's a little work in there developing a prompt, but we would trial and error it, but it works. I mean, this is using that same model Cohere,
well, it would, yeah, if
and
they
it's
had
just
online
programming
scheduling,
it. Yeah.
it would be on their website. So if
Yeah.
you can use Clay to the if Clay has the ability or whatever plugins it uses has the ability to search websites and determine whether they have online booking, then yeah, that would be huge.
Yeah. In fact, we'll just see how this goes here. We got a little time. And obviously I'm doing this ad hoc, but we'll see. We'll just happen to see if any of these have uh, any of these examples that are already pulled. Should work. Let's see if I can get this to work. It's usually pretty quick if we can get any kind of result.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, and I would probably use something like Cohere, like the recruiter example I showed you. But Clay has a tool built into called ClayGen. That's a combination of it's a Google Serper API that goes in and combines Google search with large language model. And so in this case, we're using GPT-4 Omni. And it's good. I kind of reinvented that with Cohere because I think Cohere is a better model because it's not built to definitely GPT-4 is a better model overall. Cohere is a better model for pulling data from websites specifically because
Okay.
it doesn't hallucinate. But we'll see. While this is running, it may take a minute.
Okay. No problem.
So we do that research, and then this is just I pulled this directly from the language off your website, just to kind of give you an idea of how it works. So we take, and you would help craft this, but we take your offer and we combine that with the research, and it's going to look a little unconventional to most people. But to believe it or not, this is what we would actually send to them. And I'll show you an actual campaign what this looks like. But we always start off with a very detailed reference of specific to the business that we're targeting. And we're talking about, their commitment to fashion, ethical production. And then we're softly introducing your offer, right? So it's very brief. And then I'll kind of show you in a second in LinkedIn. But why this works and why it works continuously is because this is dynamic. It's changing for every single business. And so as we're creating copy through these leads here, it's always going to be hyper relevant to the business. It's always going to be introducing your offer to the business, but then it's hitting inboxes every single time because 95% of the people that you interview besides me, Mike, they probably won't even show you copy, but if they did, it's going to be the same copy going out 25 times a day per inbox.
Yeah.
My copy is 100% dynamic every time. And that's why I can hit inboxes when other people can't, because we're writing everything entirely with AI, right? And we're writing it well and professionally. And it works. I mean, again, it's the approach to not necessarily try to sell them with a cute GIF or, hey, I looked at your LinkedIn profile and noticed you did this type stuff. This is 100% dynamic AI that's, driven from enterprise grade large language models creating the copy. And it's done
Right.
kind of in a, well, I shouldn't say kind of, but in a professional way.
Yeah.
Let me show you, I'll show you some campaigns just so you can get an idea. But this is one for one of my businesses we launched just last week. And so it's a great example because it can't be any more real than something that's a week old. Or I guess it's we're at 2 weeks this week, today. So we launched on the 10th. Today is the 24th. So kind of giving you an idea on the analytics, we're on the 30,000 send a month. That's kind of what I do for most clients, somewhat more, somewhat less, but that's the pace of this campaign. It's a $15,000 product. I like it because
So 30,000 send a month, that includes follow-ups, right?
yeah, total.
Okay, so
So
how many new clients is that approximately?
yeah, 10,000 leads is generally
Okay,
what we do. Is
got it.
10,000 leads, 30,000 sends, 3 sends per lead, right?
Okay.
And that's very deliberate because I personally anything over 3 I think is, I mean, you're always going to get a client. There's always going to be someone that can tell you, I got a client on the 7th email. Yes, that happens for sure. but I'm very deliberate in balancing deliverability with also not annoying the hell out of people. And I think at some point beyond 3 emails, your degree of potentially getting a client dramatically diminishes, as well as the amount of spam that hits your inboxes or that
Right.
you get reported for. So
They tune you
we
out. Even if they don't put you
yeah.
in spam, they just tune you out, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't help either, right? People think, well, just because they're not replying to emails, that hurts you probably more than spam because all of this is about you looking like a normal person and not a cold emailer, like a normal business sending email to another normal business. And the fact that people aren't replying to you either isn't necessarily a good thing, right? That's a balancing act.
Right.
So
So,
here's just go ahead.
sorry, I was gonna ask,
It's okay.
after you've sent to those three replies, do you take, I assume, I'm gonna assume that you just load up the next batch of 10,000 right after that and then just go at it again. That original, that batch of 10,000 that you've sort of burnt, for lack of a better word, do you save those and then try them again like 3 months down the road, or are they just they're done?
It depends on the niche, right? And the ICP, because if you're in a very small niche, you should do that. Yeah, because you need to recycle leads
Hmm.
at the cost of, the cost of our lead acquisition cost is 2/10 of a cent. So in that case, a lot of times we don't. Like with your niche, I wouldn't see any value in doing that. I'd rather recreate copy 3 months from now. I mean, if we go back to what I was saying in the beginning, if there's 130,000 barbers, and tattoo artists and massage therapists just in the US alone, right? And we're only hitting 10,000 leads. We can go 11 months without hitting the same lead. And
Yeah.
who's going to remember? I mean, even if we wanted to recycle leads, and there's two ways to look at it. You know, you could hit the same lead every 3 months, and arguably, as long as you switch up your sending domain, the chance of them remembering you is almost nil. Like, how many emails do you remember, Mike, that you got 3 months ago that you didn't reply to? Right? I
Right.
sure don't. I mean, most business owners have no clue. Now, if you engage, totally different, right? But that's part of, if they say stop or they're not interested, adding them to your block list so you don't truly hit them again, you know. Um, but yeah, I think you could. I wouldn't in a niche like this. Just, unless you're upping your volume to 50, 75,000 a month and you're going to cycle through those leads every 2 or 3 months, then it makes sense. But for 10,000, I mean, it's probably not just worth it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just thinking of the ones who are currently using competing products because
Yeah.
even if they're interested, that's something they have to really think a lot about. It might take a while to get them to switch over, so that's something you that might make sense to kind of, uh send them a campaign and then, try again in three, like just keep trying every three months or
Mhm.
6 months or a year, or go through the entire, until you run out of leads, but just save them all and then just start again and retry them again, right? A second. I don't know. Whatever the
No, with
strategy.
those for sure, because they're
With
they're a
ones who aren't
distinguishing
using
factor.
anything,
Yeah.
then yeah, it might be different. So
And partially too, because we will have done advanced research just to find those, right? We won't have to do that all over again. So yeah, absolutely. I would say in that case, we'd run two different campaigns, right? One for, to your point, different copy approaches as well. But yeah, we would segment those. I'd almost call them two different ICPs, right? And just they're obviously the same customer profile, but they're two different approaches. And we would just, I agree, we would isolate those because we wouldn't want to, and we may end up with 10 out of 110,000 that have that. We can identify that on their website, right? So we would handle those differently. To your point, I agree.
okay. Now, what about targeting specific customers? So obviously there's a lot of competing products in our space.
Mhm.
There's some sort of bigger players. Targeting those, does through Clay, or are you able to dynamically, depending on what competitor they're using, pull, main pain points that that competitor has, and then kind of address those to say, hey, uh, does, your if you're finding your current online scheduling tool, doesn't work well, in this area or that, we offer a better solution, like that sort of thing. Because we know that there's certain pain points that specific uh, that we've had clients switch over to ours because of certain pain points in our competitors. So that would be great to be able to automate and target that. Is that possible?
Yes, identifying him, yes. It would we wouldn't change our copy though. Like our copy is going to be that AI approach regardless because it works, right? So I'll tell you honestly, Mike, we're a tough decision to make because we won't change our copy no matter what you tell us
Okay.
at the end of the day because we know it works, right? And the second I let the customer start telling me what to write, then why are you paying me to do it, right? I mean, we know it gets results. So
Right.
what I will tell you, and here's what I would say makes a huge difference is that, and I'll walk you through this in a second, but we're gonna get people to respond to emails, and then where that gets addressed is in the video that we send them, and in the video that we send with the reply, because that is our client's first opportunity to get FaceTime, so to say, with the person who replied to the email, and
Okay.
that's where you speak to them, and also where that works is lead targeting, right? So if we know that one of these barber shops are using a scheduling system, then we know they have the propensity to spend money on a scheduling system. So they're a better lead than someone that we likely doesn't know. Now they're tougher, right? To your point, they're tougher because they're already in a relationship, so to say. But it's almost like dating, right? If you try to date someone in a relationship, it's tough to date someone in a relationship, but at least they date, right?
Right.
If you try to date someone who has never dated before, you don't know, you know, they might be an easier person to date, right? But you have no idea what their capability is to date. That's a horrible analogy, and I just pulled it off the top of my head, but you kind of get the point, right? It's like,
Yeah.
but you also, it's also very hard to try to date someone who's married, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
probably a very, very bad idea, right? So it's just kind of that balancing act of, I think we would want to segment those campaigns, but it would not change our copy approach. It would just change our video approach. And I'll show you that in a second. So,
Okay.
I use this campaign because this campaign is about Google visibility and online visibility. I'll show you the actual copy, but it did not change. This is using the exact same approach that I showed you. So we inject the AI here. So this is that same AI that you're seeing. We
Okay.
will do a little bit different. We'll every once in a while, like, and this is an example where you're talking about customers who are using a tool versus, we might add an extra sentence in there. Like, we added this one in here, but this is all AI. But this is what gets us replies. Is we always ask our clients, the people that we're reaching out to, may we send you a brief personalized video? And so what we do is when they reply, we use a tool called Sendspark, and we have you or whoever on your marketing team, right? Whoever you want that face to be, to record a 1 minute or so video,
Yeah,
and that's the video.
We've used Potion before, so
So you're familiar with it, yeah.
yeah.
So we use Sendspark partially because it's very cost effective. It's more of that Loom type approach, and we dynamically actually inject the information from a clay table where we pulled the leads. And so we're able to do it really, really quickly. Like we try not to do it in a minute or two because then it's too fast, right? And people
Mhm.
question that. But we stay in about that 10 to 15-minute mark. So when we get a reply, then we're ready and we're sending that reply back to them in about 10 or 15 minutes. And so that accomplishes two things. Number one, they're getting exactly what we told them we would send, which is a pre-personalized video. But it gives our client kind of the ability to do somewhat of a soft introduction to the product, and then we use a dynamic video that includes the landing page. So within that video is the calendar link, and we can customize some of that as well. It's pretty straightforward. I'll show you an example just so you can see. And so these are the actual videos for that campaign. And you can see they're all different, but there's my ugly face. And so what's nice about it too is that we can dynamically update the background as well.
Right.
And so here's that video on a bigger screen. And so I think I mentioned in this one this is somewhat of a branding approach, but
Mm-hmm.
we're dynamically changing the background based off of Google search. And so our contention in these videos is that, and this is what our solution does, is that we're telling them, like, you don't even rank, it obviously is worded better than this, but you don't rank, when we search your company name, you don't own the top 10 spots for your own company name. And so anytime someone searches your name on Google, they're seeing your competitors. And so
Mm-hmm.
in this video, and this is what I'm speaking to, we're actually showing them dynamically in the background their competitors are ranking for their own name, right?
Right.
And but this is very subtle, and this is what they get. They get it, the video is embedded into instantly. So when they
Right.
receive it, they see the actual video. But when they
Is
click it, they see the video, whatever we put here, and the calendar link to book. So that's what's kind of nice about it.
okay.
Go ahead. Sorry,
It
I cut you off.
is this the speech that you give in this video, is that pre-recorded?
Mhm.
Okay.
It is, yeah. So you would record like somebody you were on your team would record like we try to say about 1 minute because that's people's attention span's pretty short. 1 minute video, and then there's one spot in the very beginning, and it sounds weird, but whoever recorded it would say hi watermelon, and that watermelon is a dynamic variable that gets updated, so it gets replaced with that person's name with AI.
Oh, so it's like deep fake technology you use where you can basically make the
Yeah,
person say whatever. Right. Okay. Wow,
I
that's
actually
cool.
I actually have a full blown AI that we've tested a little bit, and we'll probably move to in the next couple months where it's fully me and my voice. It's 92% there, right? And I don't want to set it until it's 100% there, where
Okay.
like it. But that's coming too. We're not far away from being
Wow.
able to send just full blown AI, whatever. And I can dynamically update that with Clay too, but I just don't love it, so I'm not using it full blown. I'm using
Yeah. Yeah.
Sendspark.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so you mentioned calendar link for us, and I'm kind of wondering what your um yeah, for us so far when we've done cold email, we've tried to drive everything to just get people to sign up
Mm-hmm.
um to a sign up for efficiency purposes, and obviously allows us to scale. Would you, could you, well, obviously you could do that. That's not hard. It's a link. But would you recommend that over even for our product at our price point? Or would you recommend, no, I would kind of recommend that we drive everything to a meeting or a phone call and then you can sell it in a phone call? Or would you do kind of a hybrid of both?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you're right. I mean, did your do you have a sales team that takes calls and
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Yeah, we have a sales team that could handle the calls depending on the volume. If we were to drive everything to a phone call or yeah, a meeting, our sales team, so right now our sales team hits, so when people sign up and they go through kind of an onboarding wizard, um our sales team currently will call them sort of as soon as possible and try to engage them at that point and kind of, put a human to the company, and then just it's again same thing, not, it's not really a sales call. It's kind of a support slash sales call. You're just there like, hey, noticed you signed up for a software. Do you have any questions? Just here to help in case you need anything, that sort of thing. And then we'll ask them, is it okay if I check in with you in a couple of days to see how you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And then so we already do that. We haven't done cold uh, cold calls.
Yeah.
Mind you, this wouldn't be necessarily a cold call because they're already pre-qualified because they've answered an email, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of curious, like we've never done that where we have done demos, like we have a button on our website where people can book a demo. So sometimes people will do that, and but a lot of times they're not pre-qualified when they book, so there's a lot of no-shows on those, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of just talking out loud. I'm
No, I
curious.
think I would try both. I mean, you're going to get people that get the email. They're going to go look up the domain. They're going to find the company and they're just going to sign up, right? Especially if
Yeah.
there's any kind of trial, stuff like that. But, one of the nice things about doing cold emails, if you're sending 10,000 emails out a month, you're also inherently going to increase just your web traffic because people are going to take those subdomains and they're going to go in and search. They've never heard of you, so they're going to go in and search your company name. They're going to find that business, or they're going to cut and paste the URL into the browser, whatever subdomain we use, and then they're going to be redirected to the website. So, I think you're going to have some pickup just there. I would do both. I mean, I think I would take the approach of, just from your sales team that it's just like a demo, right? At the end of the day, and
Mhm.
um, you're giving people that opportunity to have a few minutes to talk to someone before they purchase the product.
Right. Right. And so you would sort of give them the option to do both in the email where, if you
Yeah,
like, you can book a call with me, or if you want to try the software, here's a sign up link and maybe some
yeah.
offer attached to it or something. Okay.
I think that, yeah, the nice thing about cold email is that you have to play by very strict rules up until the point that you get a reply. Once you get a reply from someone, you can do whatever you want, right? And,
Right.
and it, what I say that is, I mean, from a deliverability perspective. So I think a good approach would be both, but we want to be able to measure it, right? At the end of the day, that's what we need to be able to track and see what's working, what's not working, and adjust accordingly. But if you already have people booking demo calls, maybe it's not frequently, but you have some booking demo calls. Um, it's not, again, to your point, it's not like they're signing up for $1,000 a month product and they necessarily need that. But I think it's definitely something that we give them both options in our reply. And I think that would be done through the video, right? This link you're seeing on the screen, it doesn't have to say my calendar, right? It could say, the video, and then we could dynamically just say, if you like to try the product out, or if you have questions and you want to book a call. Because the nice is we can track what they do. We can look at the analytics on what they're
Right.
clicking and what's
Hmm.
working. So I think that's a good idea. I know
Okay.
we only have 9 minutes, so I'll kind of run through. So the video is the approach. If you ever get on my LinkedIn or Facebook, you'll just see client after client of this is just I just showed this because it's only 2 weeks old and we're using the exact same approach I'm showing you. But you can look, if it's specifically like on LinkedIn, you can see just different campaign shots that look just like this through instantly. I have clients I'm managing that are running 100K a week in outbound email. So pretty big volume.
Hey, fantastic. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Very nice to meet you, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Okay, great. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Mike.